Hey, well, everybody, welcome to kind of a new setting. Welcome to Physics 102, and this is our summer physics. And I want to begin by just kind of setting up the class, and I'll even begin, first of all, with a little apology. We got started a little late with this first video because we've had some technical difficulties. And one of them in particular is the sound. And so normally we use a little lapel mic, and the sound quality is much better with that. But unfortunately that broke. So hopefully we'll have a new one here tomorrow. If not then, on Wednesday. So we're going to do better. But for this first one, we're just going to use the microphone that's on the camera. I'll try to talk a little loud so that you can actually hear it. And then we'll do some video editing and try to make it better. But I will just apologize up front that the sound may not be as good quality. And to help that, we've brought the camera a little closer than we normally like. But that isn't so bad either. Anyways, so with that said, hopefully we'll get a little bit better. But let me set up the class. As you already know, the summer classes are all taught remotely. And so things are going to be a little different. Different for you, different for me. So know this at the beginning, this is a learning process. It's a learning process for you and for me, not just physics, but also this new way of learning. And so there'll be some adjustments that we'll probably have to make as we go along. I'll set some standards right now, and if they need to be adjusted, so be it. But just remember that I will be fully flexible with you. Whatever technological difficulties you or I have, and like I said, we've already had our first this morning here. But that aside, let me begin by really showing you how this class will be run remotely, because I want to begin here with just my email address. And so let me put email and point out then that there'll be three ways that we're going to be communicating with each other remotely here. And video is, of course, one of those. And I'm going to tie that in with Canvas. But kind of the default and kind of the easiest thing is this email. So I think most of you already know, but I'm going to put it here anyways, that my email address is my last name, Young, at sbcc.edu. That is actually the same as the new pipeline gateway. And so let me put that up here too. MK, the end, that's my first name, Mike, and my middle name, Kent, and then Young. And pipeline is our portal here. And so that's our gateway, if you will. So you're probably familiar with that. And then, of course, let me not forget, sbcc.edu. So either one works fine. I like the first one just because, number one, I've been around longer than pipeline, and it's easier for me to remember. But it's probably easier for you to remember this first one also. So ask me some questions or whatever you want. Shoot it through that one, and you'll see that I've already been responding to you. And it is coming from, and I'm not sure how it shows up on your, which one it comes from. I've got them linked together. So either one comes to me and it replies. I think if I remember right, it's set up to reply to the same one that you sent to me. So whatever address you use, then it looks like it comes from that one. Anyways, this is a long way of saying this is number one, communication. You have questions, we'll send it out by email. But the biggest way we'll run the class is through Canvas. And one of the things you're going to have to need then and figure out is Canvas. And it looks like some of you already did, because I've gotten some message through Canvas from you. But let me come over to the display so I can show you both of these things here. Watch, come over here. I've got my email already up here, and not so much to see my email, but let me go to the Sent folder for a second here, and I'm going to go to Sent, and somewhere down here, here it is this series of emails that I've been sending you guys. And so I've sent the same message 3 times, and this is my email. And I kept sending it because more and more people kept adding. And so hopefully I've gotten everybody. I might send this one more time, but let's take a look at this email and what you should already have in your box. And so I'm going to go to the original message. Let me go down to the bottom and start with, let's say, the textbook. And so I will click on and give it a chance to load. But this is your textbook, okay? Now the first page is like the front cover of your textbook, and that is the periodic table. Then, of course, it goes through and has the title. And in fact, I even brought my hard copy. Let me show you the hard copy. Not that you need to get the hard copy. In fact, probably better if you don't get the hard copy. But there's the, you know, the front flap of the cover. And here is then the textbook. And you can buy one if you really want a hard cover. But I'm not encouraging it, and so you can get whichever one you want. Now let me run through the rest of those emails. But that's the textbook, and as you'll hear me say in a little bit, your job tonight is to look at the first chapter. Okay, maybe the second thing to look at is the lab manual, and so also included is the lab manual. I'll let that pop up here, and you can see Physics 102 lab manual. And it's got all the labs we're going to do. And this first day, there is no lab. If this was a regular setting, this would be a meet and greet day, and I would just kind of meet you and kind of show you the lab. I'll do a little bit more of that at the beginning of tomorrow's lab. But that'll be our first one. So I'm only making a video for a lecture here today. And tomorrow, though, we will get started right here, motion. And it's on page 8. But part of the reason for waiting for tomorrow is today's lecture, we will start some physics and we'll begin to talk about motion. And so hopefully we'll get a little bit into velocity, and maybe even acceleration if we get that far. But you should make sure you get to that point in the lecture material before you get there. Okay, well, let me show you the other things that are in here. A big one here is this syllabus. And let me call that up. And this is what I want to go through here right at the beginning. If this was a normal summer school and we didn't have this remote stuff, I wouldn't take the time to talk about Canvas or email. I would just jump right into here. I would say, hey, here is the syllabus. I'd give you a hard copy, and I'd run through that. And so I'm going to do that in just a moment. But again, I just kind of want you to kind of understand how this remote stuff is going to be working. Yeah. And then, let's see. What am I missing here? The homework package. And so the fourth thing is your homework package. They're really just copies of the problems that are in your textbook. So in theory, you don't really need this, but I just think it's kind of nice for students and kind of convenient for students to kind of have the problems kind of right in front of them. But as you look at that package, you'll see Chapter 1 In fact, why don't we look here at Chapter 1, but it says here, Chapter 1, do these conceptual questions, and then do these exercises. And so what I really want to point out is that you will have your homework in kind of two sections. One of them is conceptual and one is more mathematical. And so these are going to be your homework for you to do tonight after you see this lecture. And what I'm going to do then is also then invite you to shoot me questions by email and say, hey, I really had a hard time with number 6. Could you start tomorrow's lecture and do number 6? And I'll say, absolutely. And so that's where I'll begin. And so that's how I would have done it in a normal setting. I would have come into class and said, hey, let's just take the first 10, 15 minutes and say, are there any questions about this? And sometimes there's only 1 or 2 questions, like on the easier stuff in the first chapter. And other times we get to some harder chapters and there's a lot more questions. And so we'll just play it from there. And so your questions, again, shoot to me by email. And again, that's what I'm trying to show you here. And so I'll jump back over here to this side of the board for just a second. And so again, just want to point out, here's my email address. And if you have any questions, shoot that. And that's what I'm trying to show you. So if you haven't got a chance to open your Pipeline account, which you must have, because the only way I can give you the link to this video is for you to open your Pipeline account. That's where we're getting started. But if you haven't dug deeper, and you're only looking at this link that I will send out tonight on this video, go a little deeper, because I've sent this chain of emails that have these 4 things that I want you to see there. So that's the idea of the email. The second thing I pointed out here was Canvas. So let's jump back over here to the screen and let me look at Canvas. If you're not familiar with Canvas, I guess the best thing I could say here is go to your Pipeline account. This is my Pipeline account, so here's Pipeline. And then up here has Canvas. And you just want to click right there on Canvas. And so I will click on Canvas. And yours will look significantly different than mine because as an instructor, I have more pieces to this. But I went ahead on my dashboard and I put the 2 sections that are you guys right here. And so half of you are in the section 20291 and the other half are in this 20347. Okay? They should be identical, so I'll just click on this first one here, and that's what you will probably find with yours. Yours will look something like this. In fact, to make mine look like yours, let me click on what we call the student view, and when I click here, this is how you should see it. And so I'm going to click here that says student view, and then say, all right, take a moment now, pause this video and go to your Canvas and make sure you can get on Canvas and make sure you can find this, because we are going to be communicating or doing most of our work, and particularly turn in your work, through Canvas. And so here I've put, here's Physics 102, here's Summer 2020, here's a little introduction here. And I forget now what I've said there, but I was hoping, to have the lapel mic, and I was hoping to have some other equipment that we can go live and have a chat room, but that looks like that might not work out. But the recording certainly will, and I've got a new lapel mic coming, so that our sound quality will be a little bit better, and our camera will be a little further away, and I won't get as much of this bright dark as I fade in and out. And so that's unfortunate, but something we'll just deal with here on the first and maybe even the second day of class. But what I want to point out here, and there's not really much on this page yet, but there is a button. What do I want to say here? There's a link to the assignments. Let me click on that because here under assignments, you will find the 3 type of assignments that you're going to have. You're going to have tests, you're going to have labs, and you're going to have homework. Okay? Now, nothing for you to turn in yet. In fact, this is where I'm going to do this summer a little different. Normally, I would say, go home tonight, do chapter 1, turn it in tomorrow. Well, to give you some time to learn about the new system and to give me some time to learn about the new system, I'm going to go ahead and just say here, we're going to go get started. I'm going to encourage you to do the first chapter here tonight. But the truth is, I'm going to have you turn in chapters 1 through 6 all in one package. And so there's nothing for you to turn in quite yet. And same thing with the labs. I'm going to set up lab number 1, motion. I'm going to have you do it. I'm going to encourage you to do it and turn it in. But I'm going to give you some time here because I think you and me are both going to need a little bit of time here. And so I've set these for June 1st. That's 2 weeks from today. And the reason for that is that's going to be our first exam. And so let's put everything in one packet. And so between now and 2 Mondays, let's work towards that first exam. And that first exam is going to be chapters 1 through 6. And so on the day of the first exam, June 1st, turn in all 6 chapters of your homework. As well as, let's see, by the time we get there, you will have 4 labs. And so we'll have you turn in 4 labs. And of course, the big one on that day would be your test. And so we'll take the test on June 1. Okay? But more on Canvas as we get started. But again, I just wanted to set up this. And if, like I said, if you haven't figured out how to get onto Canvas, play with it or shoot me an email, okay? Because this is the new big thing for this summer and trying to teach this remotely, okay? Also, the only other thing on here is I did load the syllabus on here. Now, I'll click on it, but the truth is the syllabus here is an exact copy of what I just showed you in the email. So keep that in your email or come to Canvas. It doesn't really matter. In fact, the formatting I think is a little bit nicer on the Word document that I sent you, but I'll just scroll down and you'll see everything is here. And that's this whole idea of Canvas. And I do want to go through this syllabus, but like I said, that would have been my first step in a normal setting. But I just want to take a few moments here at the beginning and show you the Canvas and the email. And actually 2 other things too. Let me come back over here to my notes. Because the other thing I wrote down for myself is to mention the Google Docs. And I'm going to set up a Google Doc that is going to have then your questions. And so if somebody sends me an email that says, hey, I'm struggling with number 7. What I'm going to do then is set up a Google Doc and say, okay, here's how you do number 7. And I may write it out by hand, or I may create a little a video here, okay? But this will be a great way to ask questions. And then I should say, you can ask them through the email. But I will post them back and then send you the link to that. Watch, let me show you. Let me show you what I did last spring here. And so if I come over here to my, let's see, let's go to my email here. And if I go to my Google Drive, and if I give that a chance to load, and if I go down to Teaching on my Google Drive, and right here, this online help questions, and let me say it again, I have not set up the one for your class yet, but when I do, I will send you a link, okay? And for example, I had some students asking questions from these different chapters. So why don't I just pick the top one there, chapter 9, and so I'll open it. In this chapter, now, nobody asked a detailed question. This was just more of a general question. For example, it looks like somebody here had asked me, hey, number 40, I'm having a hard time on. And how do I do that? So here's where I will answer it. I may answer it by typing something or maybe a diagram. It depends on how specific the question is. This question was just a general one. Both of these were just, I can't do number 40. So I said, okay, I'll just start at the beginning and do the whole thing. They didn't really ask where it was. But watch what happens when I click on the YouTube link. You know, it takes me right to my desk. And you probably can't hear the audio from it. Let me just kind of fast forward it a little bit. But this will give you an idea of what I would do. This would be one way I would do it anyways. And so whatever works. And so this is an experiment for all of us here. But like I said, this is just a video camera pointing straight down on my pad of paper. This actually happens to be a center of mass problem that you know, somebody had asked about. And so, and I shouldn't dwell here much on that particular class, but I just wanted to say again that this will be a good way of communicating with you. Well, one more thing about teaching this class remotely. Let me jump back over here, number 4. And this has to do with what I'll call tutoring or extra help. And of course, you hopefully see here 3 different directions you can go for outside help. And again, the first one is really ask me. Send me a question by email, and I will then post it to the Google Doc with a little video or diagram or whatever is appropriate to try to answer that question. The other thing to add is that you have 2 tutoring services available to you. One of them is through our school, and another one is through Canvas. And so let me show you both of those, or at least as much as I can, because the one with our school, they're still working out the details. But let me show you the Canvas one first. So let me come back to Canvas. All right, so here's our screen again. And let me go to the Canvas. I guess I'm in the student view here. But let me go back to dashboard from the student view. Oh, excuse me. Let me leave the student view. Let me try this again. Let me go to a particular section. Okay. So down here is what is called Canvas Student Tutors. And so if you're struggling along and you want an answer right away, this might be the way to go here, because you're going to send me an email and I'll check it. I'll make a little video and send it back. And sadly, that's kind of the thing about doing this remotely like this. But I do think the video camera and the live demonstrations are really a better way to do the physics than a Zoom setting here. But I wanted you to see this because this is really powerful. And so if I click here and go to no, that's not quite what I wanted. Oh, my bad. My bad. That was our in-house one. I apologize. I said that backwards. Let me show you this one first. Net tutoring. I'll come back to this one. Sorry. So let me go to the net tutoring. So in the net tutoring, if I click here, give it a chance to load, you'll see all the different disciplines that is supported by our Canvas tutoring. And so for you guys, scroll all the way down until we get to the P's for physics. There it is. And click on that. And then it'll load in the physics. And then you have three things you can do. Here is the drop-in and live tutor. And so this is a good one. You can set up an appointment, or you can drop in a question on the piece of paper. That all works good too. But I really wanted to show you the live connection. And this is the live connection. It looks like it says here your estimated time of 10 minutes. So it looks like the tutors are helping somebody at the moment here. I thought there was a list that listed the hours. Up here. And let me pull that over, because they have hours 7 days a week. And there's quite a few hours, and so that's why I wanted to show you that one here with our Canvas. So that might be the biggest plus about this remote setting, is we've got this nationwide Canvas system with tutoring that, although I haven't tried it, I've heard good things about it. So I'm sure you guys will give me some feedback. Anyways, I shouldn't dwell too much on there. But again, I just wanted to take this first, well, we're getting close to a half hour now, and I wanted to only do a half hour. I'm almost done. But just kind of show you how the class is set up remotely. Okay, now, the other tutoring that you saw was right here. This is our tutoring for, or what I should say is controlled and is paid for by Santa Barbara City College. And so Brandon is our tutor, and I am going to get a sheet from him today, and I'm going to send it out to you by email that will show you how to log into a Zoom setting and talk live with the tutor. Now, the bad thing about that is the tutor is only there, this is all we can afford, 2 hours, and I'm pretty sure it's 11 to 1. Let me double check to that. But 11 to 1, 5 days a week, that's the good thing. And so these, 5 days a week, there'll be Brandon there. And he's gone through our whole program. He knows exactly what this class is. He knows who I am. And so it could be a little bit more directed towards questions about Santa Barbara City College. Because, again, that's for us locally. And so that's your 3 options there. All right, well, with that in mind, let me shift gears now. Let me actually then start the class. start the class as I normally would have done if it wasn't for this remote learning. And so, if you will, let me go ahead and clean off the whiteboard and say, all right, what would a normal class setting look like? And here's what I would do. I would grab my notebook, and as a side note, by the way, I do have a hard copy. I printed mine. Here's the lab manual. So not only do I have the lab manual, but I've got a hard copy of the textbook. But again, since we're doing everything remotely, and you might as well save a few dollars, I'm going to encourage you to just say, you know, just use the PDF of both of these. All right. So let me open up my lecture notebook and look at my notes. And the very first thing I would do in a normal setting is I would say, let's talk about the class. Oh, let's call up the syllabus. Let me explain the class. All right, so finally, we're beginning the class. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump back to the syllabus on the screen. I guess I need to decide if I should use the one in Canvas or just the Word document. I guess I'll just do the Word document here. So I'll pull up the Word document. And so here is the Word document. And let's just kind of go through the class. Let's go through the syllabus before we actually begin our first lecture. And so let me take a few more moments here and say, okay, here we are. You can see here it says Summer 2020. This is me, Dr. Mike Young. I'm going to be your instructor here for the summer class. I'll list my office, PS 119. Of course, we're not on campus, so I don't know if that's very useful this particular time, but there it is nonetheless. There's my phone and there's my email address. And as you probably are aware, I'll keep my phone number there, but who makes phone calls anymore? They're kind of done. But my email is going to be the big one for you guys. All right, let's go through this. This says, in fact, maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. How's that showing up on the?
There we go.
On the camera. Showing up pretty good. Okay. But I'll just make it bigger. Again, for a full class setting, I would do that anyways here. But let's read this. This will give you an idea of the class. Physics 102 is an introductory, conceptually oriented course that, excuse me, with quantitative applications and of general physics with special emphasis on topics that are related to the everyday experience. And so what I'd like to say is I hope what you get out of here is what physics is about. Physics, of course, is studying the physical world, but it's really neat to see things like how does the car work? How does the refrigerator work? Why is the sunset red? Why is the sky blue? Why do the stars twinkle? And the list goes on and on. Just some of your common everyday occurrences. You know, why are there ocean waves? And things like that. And so hopefully that's what you'll get across. Because to me, it's when you take the science and you apply it into somebody's life is where it really comes to life. Which goes on to say that these are the topics we're going to do. We're going to do motion first. That will lead into work. That will lead into energy. That will lead into sound. That will lead into heat. That will lead into light. That will lead into optics. That will lead into electricity. That will lead into magnetism. And then we'll see where it gets us because we'll get into some atomic or nuclear physics, really depending on the time scale. And in fact, as a little side note, and I'll keep going here, it says this is an introductory course for students majoring in the physical sciences. So I always keep that in mind that for you guys, this is not your one and only physics course. And so I really think the most important thing that I can give to you for this class is you the skills necessary to succeed to the next level, which is our Physics 121. So what you'll see is I will overemphasize this beginning stuff on motion, work, energy, sound, and heat. Those are going to be in your next semester. The class that you will take after this, the Physics 121. And so I will spend a disproportionate amount of time on those because these other things are very important, don't get me wrong, but you will see them again. And you will see them in our Physics 123 class. And if I don't give you enough strength and skill to get to the next level, you'll never get onto that. So I really want to emphasize the necessity of really understanding these. And if we have to shortchange some of this, so be it. You'll get it later is kind of my answer here. Okay. This is the prerequisite, as I just said, for 121. You do have to take the lab. That's the 102 lab. And so we'll have another video starting tomorrow about the labs. And it even says it does meet your general ed requirement. So I would suspect that some of you are in the class, maybe actually taking it for general ed, but that's really not the gear of this class. The intent of this class is to get you ready for the 121, 122, 123 series. Okay. In fact, I thought then, let's have some fun here. Because, as I said, the physics really is best done when you see this in action, when you see some fun. So I thought I would begin the day with a little bit of teasing parts. So let's start here. Well, how about motion one? All right, I'll tease you with a motion one. This is Newton's third law. It's our little rocket cart. Let me give myself a little bit of space here. But if I come over here, without maybe getting too involved with the physics, I do want you to see that we're going to have some fun here. And we're going to then build our own little rocket. So you'll see this again, but let me go ahead and just show you that if I